Well, good Sunday morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods. Hope everybody's had a great weekend. After a rainy weekend, it actually looks to be gorgeous outside. The sun is out. It's going to be in the mid-60s, and it looks like the leaves are beginning to try and come out on the trees. I see some buds out there. Hope you all get a chance to enjoy the day. You know me, I constantly say so busy, and it's going to be another busy day because tomorrow we headed back down to work on the red brick house, and I got to get everything in order before I go there to make sure that I've got everything that I can maximize my time. So this morning, I ended up seeing a really interesting piece by NFL prospect Steve Avila, who is from Arlington, Texas, a 6'3.5" 332-pound offensive guard, 32-inch length, arm length, 9.25-inch hands, not the hugest hands in the world. I think mine are a little bit bigger than that. I think I'm closer to 11.5. Draft prospect grade at 6.3, listed as an eventual starter, but definitely a big guy that could be a great offensive lineman. He literally said, I want to go to the Cowboys. So I want to start this morning off with this interview that TMZ had with him.
Growing up in Arlington, Texas, you went to TCU. Obviously, Cowboys need a left guard. I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times. You've seen the mock drafts. They pick 26. That's right where everybody has you. But did you grow up a Cowboys fan?
Not really. I didn't really watch football. It's funny as it sounds. I didn't really watch too much football growing up, but being in Dallas, everybody's a Cowboys fan. My parents are, so it was hard not to be around the Cowboys growing up. So there is a respect I do have for them, and honestly, any organization. But it would be honestly like the best to stay home. I've been home my whole career, so we'll see if we can keep that streak going.
Did they meet with you at the combine?
No. They didn't meet, but we do have a meeting here in a couple days. So,
gotcha. Are you going to be part of their Dallas Day? I think they have.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to go to that.
Gotcha. Okay, but the meeting, what will that entail?
Probably just getting to know me more and seeing what type of player in person I am. So
we'll see. Kind of an interview, like a dinner type, or what will you be doing?
Yeah, so it is an interview. Just like all the other ones I've been having.
Where does everybody want you to play? I mean, you played everywhere at TCU. Where does everybody want you to play, and where do you want to play?
Yeah, so I've heard teams wanted me at center, and I've heard teams wanted me at left guard. So it's one of the two. I feel like I can do what's asked. I've played right tackle. The only thing I haven't played is left tackle, but I don't think those are too much different. But me personally, like if I were to choose right now, and I've gotten this question a lot, right now, I would probably say left guard, only because I'm coming off of recent success, at that position. But at the Senior Bowl, I did play center, and that's nothing that's new to me. I felt very comfortable doing that. So we'll see.
When you get drafted and you finally get your first NFL paycheck, have you thought of what you're going to do with it?
Yeah, I need to buy a car, so I'm gonna do that. And then I do want to buy a house, so we'll see where that goes. It depends on where I land with a lot of these things. So, yeah.
What would be the car?
A Mercedes GLE AMG. I think it's a 6.3. So, yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. If not, I'll probably just get a pickup truck. So,
where are you feeling that you're gonna go? Do you think you're gonna be a first round pick, or what are you thinking?
Yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, if I were to put percentages on it, I'd say maybe a 20, 80, 30, 70 on first to second round. Mm-hmm. I do know, I feel and believe that I am a firm second round player. I see a lot of people, have me at like early third, and it kind of is like, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm a humble person. I hate talking about myself, but when I see that, I'm like, dude. But Yeah, I mean, late first, early second.
Okay. So here we go. That's actually very interesting. Listening to him. Okay, so going by the okay, let's back up here for a second, because here's what the Cowboys like to do. The Cowboys, no matter where they're drafting position wise, in the draft, they like to get the number one prospect in that position. Now, the Cowboys have set themselves up so they don't necessarily have to go for a need, a glaring hole. By getting Stephon Gilmore, the secondary is in great shape by bringing back Donovan Wilson, along with Jaron Kearse and Malik Hooker. That, your secondary is good by bringing back Van Der Esch. There's not necessarily a need where you say, I've got to get a linebacker. Bringing back Tyron Smith, you look at it and say, well, we with Terrence Steele back and, of course, Zach Martin, you got your center and Biotish. You can move Tyler Smith to guard, and you got Tyron Smith. And that's good as long as Tyron Smith stays healthy. So you technically have that. And, of course, by bringing in Brandon Cooks, you say, okay, we've got wide receivers. And, we do have young prospects and, Peyton Hendershot and Jake Ferguson at tight end. So by signing running back Ronald Jones, you kind of have taken care of all of the glaring holes. But now it's a matter of what can you get to upgrade. Now, I'm not the draft guy. I'm getting ready to get started working and digging deep in there. I've got to get that together along with getting ready to take my Class A test this week. I got to study for that as well. But I need to start digging in deep with these prospects. Now, looking at him, if you go by the scores from NFL.com and his combine numbers, the prediction score, they have him ranked as the second best guard in football. As an athlete, they have him fifth, and total score, they have him for guard ranking second, number 2 prospect. The Cowboys' mindset is, we want the number 1 prospect from a position when we draft. So when the cornerbacks flew off the board, they looked and said, Micah Parsons is the best linebacker out there. We want to draft him. When we were drafting the years before with CeeDee Lamb, when CeeDee Lamb dropped to us, he was one of the top prospects. He wasn't the top, but he was one of those ones that should have been. And they looked at that and said, we have to get that guy. So as the draft sets up, because the Cowboys are so late in the draft, here's the thing. Quarterbacks. There'll probably be 4 quarterbacks drafted before we draft. So quarterback is going to be out. Edge rushers, man, they always go. You saw Giovanni and Clowney as the number 1 pick. So 3 or 4 edge rushers will be taken. Left tackles are always in vogue. About 3 of those guys will be taken. Wide receivers, about 3 or 4 wide receivers will be taken. Positions that don't necessarily go in the first round. Tight end, guard is usually late first round. Safeties, defensive linemen. So those are the positions that you look at and say, the Cowboys are looking at one of the top prospects. Guard, tight end, defensive line are all positions that you could potentially, and safety, could get the highest prospect at those positions. The thing that, again, I don't know that much about him, but understanding that he's played every position except for left tackle and has no fear playing left tackle, having a guy who's young, who has versatility, who can play center, who can play guard, who can play tackle, he might be your swing guy. And a guy that you could bring on if Tyron Smith goes down or somebody goes down to fill in. I don't know if that's what the Cowboys are looking for, but it definitely does not sound like a bad thing. Last night, as I was in bed, I was going through and I caught this last night. And this is interesting because it's kind of goes to something that I've kind of said about ESPN. where when I grew up with ESPN and sports journalism, and see, this is where we've got old media and new media, and it's kind of like a war. Everybody is fighting for relevance because my generation was about the facts. I want to see the scores and the highlights. This generation is more of, I want the drama. I want the fight. And see, ESPN, the groundbreaking show, the beginning, if you want to point to where everything changes, it all goes to one show. And that's PTI with Mike Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser. Two guys having debates about topics. But it wasn't adversarial until First Take. So Dan Le Batard on his podcast had Steve in there and about Skip Bayless and so on, the feud between them. And Dan Le Batard basically literally trashes what Stephen A. Smith and First Take did to sports journalism. And I think that this is key because, see, this is the de-evolution of sports talk. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I benefit. I benefit. All of us YouTubers benefit because ESPN is slowly dying in its current form. Its old model doesn't work anymore. And this is where guys that have been sports journalists who have done the real sports work are having to change and evolve to this new thing where it's, you know, where a Shady McCoy who has nothing as far as journalism goes gets the numbers because he says Dak Prescott is ass. And if you're a guy who's been a sports writer or sports journalist who's gone to school for this and been doing this for 30 years, and you can't get a run because some idiot, some village idiot literally can just go ahead and just trash somebody and everybody listens to them. But then there's the Pat McAfee's, a kicker, not a sports journalist. I don't know what he studied in school. A hilarious guy when I remember meeting him in 2012. Funniest guy you'll ever meet, Pat McAfee, who literally is killing it in the media. And it's kind of like when people tell you, you got to go to college. You got to get a degree if you want to be successful. Well, I hate to tell you that some of the most famous people in the world, some of the richest people in the world, some of the most successful business people in the world, like Richard Branson, like Bill Gates, don't have a college degree. So this is very telling and very interesting. Let's listen to it.
Out a little bit later so I can get up a little bit later and go to work the next day, as opposed to getting up 6 o'clock every morning in a 7:30 meeting and then being on the air at 10 a.m. But considering the cachet that comes with it, the kind of impact the show has been able to have, I'm open to doing that for years to come, just so long as it doesn't limit me from doing other things that I want to do. If it's going to limit me from doing other things that I want to do, then in 2 years, I'm going to have decisions to make. And everybody understands that. I understand that ESPN has every right to move in a different direction if they so choose. And when that time comes and it's time for a decision to be made, that decision will happen. And that's that.
You have said that you have a lot of enemies and a lot of friends in this business. Who are the people at the top of both of those lists?
I'm not giving you the people at the top for the enemies. There's a couple of no good bastards that I can't stand. And they ain't hard to figure out who they are. But I won't give them the time of day by even mentioning their names. My friends are in abundance. You know, when you think about Bryant Gumbel, when you think about Mike Wilbon, when you think about, Kendrick Perkins and all the folks that contribute on the show, Marcus Spears, Dan Orlovsky, Ryan Clark, Kimberly Martin, Monica McNutt, of course, Molly Kiram, and the great job she does. Just the list, Bart Scott, everything, Damian Woody, the whole crew, people like that. And then people in the industry like Steve Weish at the NFL Network, Michael Irvin is a friend, obviously, Keyshawn Johnson, my brother, is just so many people. I almost hate mentioning names because I don't want to leave anybody out.
Well, the question stinks if I don't get the enemies. If I don't get the enemies, the question stinks. Like you named a whole bunch of friends, but if I don't get a single enemy, all of a sudden the question stinks. The
you're not getting an enemy.
Well, it seems obvious that I'm not getting an enemy. I'm just saying I don't want any more friends if you're not going to give me an enemy. Like you give me too many friends if you're not going to. You got to give me one enemy. And I'll tell a story I haven't told before. No. That's fine. You don't have to. I'll tell the story with or without your help. I don't even know if you remember this, but I did try at one point to repair a relationship with you and another journalist.
Yes.
And I would assume that he might be at the top of the list, but you don't even want to. You don't even want to.
That is accurate.
You don't.
And not only that, without saying his name, I'll tell your audience what I said to you. I said, "Do you value our friendship?"
I mentioned it right now.
And I meant it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, you took a hard line on that. And all I was trying to bring was peace between brethren in our industry.
You call him whatever you want. I have other names that I will call him, but that's for me to say to his face, not on the air or behind his back.
Why are you and Skip Bayless brothers for life?
I appreciate what I wouldn't be where I'm at today in this business, in my opinion, if it were not for Skip Bayless. That's one of the reasons I was so pissed off when last year he was, he went on his podcast and was going off because he misconstrued something that I said on a podcast. Got very defensive about it.
It was about who deserved the credit for First Take, right? Wasn't that where it started?
It was something along those lines, but he was saying something about, how they were doing just fine, and it was Tim Tebow and the ratings and all of this other stuff. And I was like, that's not what I said. What I was talking about was what you told me. You needed me because I was the only one you could trust. I didn't sit up there and say you were failing. I said, you said, if I'm going to do this for the long haul, I need someone I can trust. Mm-hmm. And you're the only one I can trust. And so when that happened, I flew to L.A. I was on my way there anyway. But I flew to L.A. specifically to see him at that point. I had canceled plans and stuff like that just to make sure I saw him. Because I told him I didn't care about any of that he said. I only cared about one thing that he said. He went on his podcast and said he felt stabbed in the back. I said, I need you to look me in my face and tell me that I stabbed you.
I've always admired that about you, man. You go and you meet people. You make people say shit to your face.
Yes, I will, because, I'm very, very big on character. I'm not perfect, not the most smartest dude in the world. I don't know everything. I'm not always right or whatever, but I'll put my core decency up against anybody's. I don't get personal. I don't get into personal business. You know how much stuff I know about people that I cover and I report on and stuff like that. In one ear, out the other. See, close my eyes, turn my head. I got nothing to say about your damn personal life. Stay out the police blotters. Don't put yourself in the news. I got nothing to say about your personal life. It's all about the game. It's all about what affects the game. That's it. I don't go any further than that. And so to me, particularly in this day and age, in the salacious times that we deal with, where everything appears to be clickbait and people are willing to sell their damn souls for a bunch of likes, for crying out loud, I don't roll like that. And so when it's people that I know and who I believe know me, and I have undeniable evidence as to what my character is and who I am, and that's brought into question, you damn right I'm going to confront you.
Damn.
You're damn right I'm going to confront you. Because I'm going to be like, where'd that come from? We could disagree. We have a difference of opinion. But to imply that there's some character trait that I'm deficient in when it came to you and I, That was very offensive to me. And for him, I told him flat out, I don't give a damn what you say. You take all the credit in the world for First Take forever. I don't give a damn. You're doing Undisputed for the last 6-7 years. Still take credit for First Take for all you want to, because guess what? I wouldn't be on First Take if it wasn't for you. So you damn right you deserve the credit. What I want to know is, you said I stabbed you in the back. When the hell that happened? That's what I want to know. And for that, he apologized, and I've been fine ever since.
I hate what you two have done to sports television.
You can say that all you want to. I would say, who the hell are you to sit up there and say me and him? What about you? Where the hell were you? Living under a rock, teaching at Miami U? You were a part of it too. You ain't innocent.
I'm talking about all the imitators that you have birthed. All of the imitators that are all over the place, thinking without the journalism credentials that the point of all this is to turn it into an argument on television.
Well, I would take umbrage at what you're saying in this regard, Dan. Those people who don't have a journalism background, who don't exercise journalistic ethics and beyond, how are we responsible for that when our background is based on that? Skip Bayless was a journalist for decades. I was a journalist for decades. We come on television, and those ethics are applicable. The fact of the matter is that when I take a position, it's the same kind of position I would take writing a column. The difference is, instead of writing 800 words and being limited to that space, I get to talk for a few minutes on each subject. When did it happen that I ignored the fact that I was a journalist for the Winston-Salem Journal, the Greensboro News and Record, the New York Daily News, and then the Philadelphia Inquirer? Before I went to CNN-SI and then Fox Sports and then ESPN, when did it occur in my career that I ignored the journalistic tenets that came with the job?
Oh, it's not ignoring them. It's that they shrink in the face of the need for the argument as entertainment. It's
there you go.
Kellerman offers too much nuance, so we have to make it in the form of entertainment. We have to. It's not that it's ignored. It's that the journalism becomes less important. It's the argument. It's the sparks. It's the debate that needs to be carried.
Yeah, but where you're missing the boat, and I'm actually surprised that you're missing it, Dan, is that it's not about us. It's about the money. The fact of the matter is that somewhere along the lines, social media came into play. And even with YouTube, you have the ability to monetize your product. People look at whatever it takes to monetize those products, their product, and they prioritize that, and that dictates what they do.
That's it.
If you are a guy, if you are on social media, and guess what? You don't have to go to college, and you don't have to take 18 credit semester hours like I did each semester, and you don't have to get a bachelor's degree. And all you got to do is go on YouTube, talk smack, find a way to build subscribers and viewers per episode, and monetize your brand, and you get to bypass all of that stuff. And there's an industry that's been put in place that allows you to do that, and you've elected to do that just to get paid. How the hell is that Skip Bayless and Stephen A's fault? Or Dan Le Batard, for that matter, or anybody else?
Well,
they created those platforms.
Wow.
It's allowed to be monetized. People see that has the potential to pay you more than a $75,000 to $90,000 salary working in newspapers. Everybody don't have space for you to do talk radio or a television show. So you figured out a way to do this rather than punch a clock, work a 9 to 5 in corporate America at whatever job you're doing. And that's basically been more beneficial monetarily to you. How is that Skip Bayless, Dan Le Batard, Stephen A., Will Bond, Kornheiser, or anybody else?
Well, I don't think that I don't think entirely, right, that this category that I'm talking about is something that I fit in. Just because you and I have had a long relationship, I don't think we've ever had an argument.
I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm gonna leave it right there. But there you have it in a nutshell. There you have it in a nutshell. Why journalists, guys who have gone to school, have been there, done newspaper, magazines, radio, and things, hate YouTube. They hate it. They hate it because you're competing against people who are personality, who aren't sports writers, who haven't paid their dues, so to speak. And you look at that and say, why are they not looking at me as opposed to this jackass on YouTube in comparison to my credentials? Well, it's old media versus new media. Unfortunately, or fortunately, things change and evolve throughout time. And the way you used to do things don't matter. They change with the generations. They change with the technologies. And you have to evolve. You have to embrace it. You have to understand the dynamics of it. Because if you continue to opine and live in what used to be, you will die with what used to be. I've understood that my whole life. Everything changes. And if you are unwilling to change and embrace it, you're going to be left behind. And that is a fact. That is a fact. So, word for the wise. Change, whether you want it or not, it's always there. You better be ready to roll with the punches. I'm Mark Holmes, and I hope I see you guys today, 5 o'clock Eastern. If you are a channel member, you can be part of the show. I will put the link for the Zoom call in the community tab. So definitely, we got to talk. We got to talk about the Dallas Cowboys and how we're feeling and what a difference a year makes. Because last year we were trashing them because they were getting rid of everybody and not replacing anyone. I'm Mark Holmes, and I'll see you soon.
Mark Holmes here, as always.